Any human can tap into flow state. It's not limited to certain people. Flow state is the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. I'm sure you know what that feels like. I'm sure you've been through it, whether you're playing a video game or you're playing music or you've got into a really deep edit or you've got into almost a movie or you've got into a conversation or you're building something or you're creating something or you're organizing something. These are all flow states where time just seems to vanish. You look back, it was 1 p.m. and then, it's 6 p.m. and you're still full of energy and you have, you're just stoked. And I think tapping into that is key to tap into the best quality work that you can provide. So here's a quick breakdown of your brainwaves, and I want to talk about this because flow is directly related to your brainwaves. And excuse me, I'm going to wipe my nose. So if you don't know what your brainwaves are, you have gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. You can see here on the right, gamma is when you're like awake, when you're in a fully aware state. Beta is when you're alert. Let's say you're gonna go on a hunt or something. You're very alert, you're sharp. Alpha is when you're relaxed, you're settling down, your heart rate's lower. Theta is when you start to get a little tired. This is when, you're about to fall asleep. And then delta is when you're sleeping. So you can see the volatility, or at least the brainwaves themselves go from very, very small to long as you become less active in your brain. And I think it's very, very important to understand because this is directly linked to our own personal energy and our consciousness and our ability to think and process. And all of these different states have an impact in your ability. They have a certain benefit to you as a human. And if you know which ones you're tapping into, you'll be able to use the right brain state or know when you're in a certain type of brain state for the job at hand. Okay, so your brain and flow state are actually between alpha and theta. It's when you're relaxed and tired, but it's not so much being tired, but it's more so slowing down your brain wave state. So instead of going when you're super alert, you're on the go, 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 you're more of it oscillates a lot slower versus and those are really bad examples. But if you were to imagine a sound wave, right, it sounds more chaotic versus much slower than this, and it's more rhythmical. And as you know, when you're in that flow state, everything kind of feels like, you're just in the flow. You're just going with the flow. And I think that's the best mood to be in. So alpha waves occur at a frequency 8 to 12 hertz, and they're associated with relaxation and a state of wakeful relaxation. All right. And your theta waves occur at 4 to 7 hertz and are associated with deep relaxation and meditation. Okay. So if you've ever meditated before and you've quieted all the noise in your brain, you've slowed your heart rate down and you're very still, that's when the theta waves actually, when you've lowered the hertz or the frequency in your own brain, is when you start to tap into that very high subconscious rhythmical flow state. And we tap into this unknowingly, if you're not even aware of it, when we start to get ourselves into something we enjoy, right? And I'll break down how we get into flow state, but you can deliberately tap into flow state on purpose by lowering your brainwave state, by slowing it down. Okay, so I'm going to break down how to achieve flow state now. So number one, find a challenge that you love. And I think this is very important because, when it comes to editing, I love editing certain things. It's definitely a challenge for me to put the story together, to look through the clips, and so yeah, let's see what's next. Number two, develop your skills to meet the challenge. Okay, it could be very frustrating if you don't have the right skills to execute on something. This won't allow you to get into flow state because you're not mentally prepared to do the thing. So you need to have the skills. If your skill level is higher than the challenge, it equals boredom. Okay, so I found this really cool chart online where if you have more skills than the challenge at hand, you're going to get bored, right? If you're too good for something, too good at something, if you're playing a level 1 and you're level 10 at this video game, it's going to be boring, right? I don't know about you guys, but I used to play a lot of DDR, which is Dance Dance Revolution, and there was different levels to it. There was basic, and then there was maniac. And anytime I would play maniac because I just played enough times where I was really good at it. And so whenever I would go and do a basic one, you know, I would just kind of go through the motions. It would be kind of boring. It wasn't as stimulating. And so the same thing applies with your own skill sets or whatever you're doing. If the job at hand is something that you've done so many times and you know either you know you can delegate it, it's not something new for you, you're going to reach a level of boredom and you're not going to tap into flow. Now, let me go back. Okay, if your skill level is lower than the challenge, that equals anxiety, all right? So if you've ever been in a situation, okay, so I'll go back to the Dance Dance Revolution. You guys have seen that at the arcade, right? With the steps. You know, if you were a level, let's say a level 3 player, and then you jumped into a level 10 maniac player, and you start seeing all the arrows on the screen, and you have no clue what you're doing, or maybe you do a little bit, but you're trying and you're missing, it's going to stress you out. It's going to create a lot of anxiety because you're not quite at that skill level yet, because your skill level is lower than the challenge. Same thing can apply if you're working on some sort of creative that is beyond your capacity, beyond your understanding, beyond your knowledge and skill set. If you're the one put responsible for the duty and you don't have all the parts, you don't have the experience, yes, it's going to be very, very stressful and it's going to cause a lot of anxiety. There's been situations in my life where I definitely wasn't super confident or comfortable with the product itself. I didn't know the product. It was like a women's product, so I'm not researching makeup and skincare every single day, and I don't know what people like. So it was one of those challenges where I had to do a lot of additional research to make myself feel more comfortable. But initially, it did cause a lot of anxiety. And so the ideal spot to be in is right here where this orange dot is. There needs to be a balance between difficulty of the activity and your skills, all right? So it's right in the middle between challenges and skills where you're not too bored or you're not too anxious. And this is that happy medium where you know you can do it, you feel confident to do it, but it's challenging enough where you feel stimulated and you're not just going through the motions. That's where you start to achieve that flow state, or in this graphic, they call it the flow channel. So number 3, another way to tap into flow is setting SMART goals. Okay, I think this is just a nice little acronym: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based goals. This is actually very big for me this year in 2023, is setting much clearer goals and expectations for myself as well as the outcome, and being very clear with what is it I'm trying to achieve. Just because I have very little time to do, and I want to get a lot of things done. So I have to be realistic with myself. And, the days of me editing, 8, 12 hours a day are gone. I don't have that luxury anymore. So I have to be very specific with how I schedule my calendar. I have to be measurable. It's like, how long is this going to take? Or what am I going to achieve from this? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Can I actually do it in this time frame? Or am I going to have too much on my plate? Am I going to be exhausted? Is it relevant? Do I even need to do this? Is this a project or edit that needs to get done right now? Or should I, prioritize it with something else? And lastly, time-based. I'm always putting things on the calendar, setting little segments of time for myself, because that way I can get a better picture of when I'll be done and when I can move on to the next thing. And also gives me a little bit of urgency, not a little bit, it gives me a lot of urgency to get what I need done in that time frame. Because I have kids, because I have so many different things, my time, I have to be structured every 30 minutes. Number 4, work at your own peak time. I think this is different for everybody, right? And it would require for you to just kind of step back and look at your own day-to-day life and ask yourself, when are you most productive? And this could vary from person to person. This could be right when they wake up because there's no distractions. It's quiet outside. Maybe the sun isn't even up yet. And then you have that whole morning to get stuff done. Whereas some people, it's middle of the day or 9 a.m. when, the coffee kicks in and you've got that productive hour, a few hours before lunchtime. And I feel like everyone's lunchtime and after is their least productive time. At least it is for me. And then lastly, you've got the night owls. I used to be a night owl pre-kids, and I still work at night, but that 9 o'clock to 1 a.m. for me was a very productive time because everyone's asleep. And it was a very quiet time for me to focus, to get into flow. And so for me, if I don't have to get the kids ready, definitely like the first thing in the morning to wake up if I have that freedom. But if I'm working throughout the day, it'll be that 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is typically like, all right, let's get some serious shit done. And then if I want to do like more creative work towards the end of the day that isn't super challenging, I'll do that after the kids go to bed from like 9 p.m. to 1. So it's this cycle that I do. Number 5, give total attention to the activity. I think this is important. You got to limit distractions, and you got to concentrate and focus, right? If you're getting blown up on your phone a lot, if you're getting notifications on your computer, if you've got kids or animals like I do, you have to be able to separate yourself from those distractions, create time and a place for yourself where you're able to just concentrate and focus on the job at hand and segment your time, because getting back into a flow state takes extra work, and it's just going to keep delaying the project. Because if you can just get everything done in one sitting, at least that's the way I like to do it, then boom, we're done. We can move on to the next thing. And that's what I really like, is just to carve out those X amount of hours and knock it out. Number 6, let go of self-consciousness. I think this is a big one. A lot of people, if you're not confident in yourself, if you're scared to do something, you got to just do it. That's the hardest thing. We have this fear, this built-in fear, that the only way through the fear is to just push through it and to act on it versus sit and fester and think about it and overanalyze, because that's only going to make the fear and self-consciousness grow more, and it's going to become actually unsustainable, and it's going to dig you deeper if you continue to like feed it energy. So you have to just take action right away. That's what I've learned, especially for things that I'm new at or I'm not really comfortable with, like doing certain type of social medias or whatever. It's like, like I don't want to do this, but all right, fuck it, let's just go. And so you just sometimes just got to go in there, and you're going to fuck up, but be okay with that, because that's part of that learning process. So don't let your mind or ego get in the way. This is that huge blocker, whether you have certain limiting beliefs that will tell you you're not good enough or you can't do something or whatever that is for you. Do your best to just say, F you, I'm going for it, and I don't care if I fail, because this is going to teach me a lot. Number 7, eliminate distractions. We spoke about this already, but really concentrating yourself into an environment where you limit all those distractions, turn off your phone, turn off your notifications, have a timer. I think that's a big one for me, is like, okay, how much can I get done in 30 minutes? Because I know something's going to come up. So it almost like trains me to sprint as fast as I can, to think very clearly. Because when I give myself all the time in the world to do something, I tend to use it. And there's a principle behind that where whatever time you give it is how long it's going to take. So if you say it's going to take 8 hours, it's going to take 8 hours. But if you tell yourself, I only have 2 hours to do this, you'll do it in 2 hours. Trust me, you'll find a way. Number 9, practice breathing. Okay, meditation. I'm just throwing this in there because this is stuff that I do. You don't have to do it, but it's very, very powerful for getting your monkey mind, your amygdala, that reactive brain, that monkey chatter, all that, to just slow down and shut the F up. So meditation is one of those things. You don't have to be spiritual about it. It's just more of a technique where you can relax yourself. You can lower your your frequency, your brainwave state into that theta alpha state, and then begin to actually channel way more creativity and productivity into your day. All right. So this is a quick little technique that I use on a regular basis, dozens and dozens of times a day, where I inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5, and then exhale for 5. Set a timer for 5 minutes a day before you get started. Guaranteed, this is going to put you in the right mindset, the right flow state, and the right energetic state to do the job at hand. So you're not reactive, you're not, rushing into things, and you're a lot more centered. The goal for meditation is to get you centered so that you almost become like nothing can penetrate your brain and like your energy. So you're just kind of still, and you just move like the water, like Bruce Lee says. Lastly, good luck, have fun. Any gamers out there, at the end of the day, just have fun with this stuff, really, because we have this privilege to work on videos and edit, and it should all be fun. I think the moment it stops being fun is when you have to reconsider, okay, is this the right thing for me? Am I burning myself out? But if it's still fun for you, then keep it up, because that's the energy that's going to keep you moving forward.